everybody, and welcome back to Buckle Up, It's the Law with attorney Larry Forman. Folks, today we are going to spill the tea on the most exciting day of the trial for me, yours truly, the DUI guy, Larry Forman. Folks, today we are going to cover exactly what happened. I had eyes and ears inside the courtroom for the entire day. I was there from 9 a.m. all the way until 3:45. I have all the inside stuff. I have juicy details. I even have things that I cannot share with you. I'm not trying to be, dodgy or whatever you want to call it. It's just, I can't. I literally have inside information that I cannot reveal to you. Period. The end. Don't try to fish for it. Don't try to get it out of me. You will never get it out. You will never crack me open. Confidentiality is rule number one of both attorneys and reporters. But there is a ton of juice and sleaze that I am ready to spill my guts on. So don't worry. Buckle up, because this is going to be a fun one. Okay? So, first and foremost, for those of you who don't know, I have been inside the courtroom today. Okay? I went live. If you haven't seen it, that video has already garnered about 100,000 views. I was inside the courtroom, and I was inside the courthouse with the team for Karen Reed. And before that, I live streamed right outside with all the protesters. I got a chance to interview a former sergeant for Canton PD, Peter Murphy. That interview, like I said, is in the video from this morning. It was about a 20-minute interview. I also interviewed another guy who used to be, I think he was on the force. I forget his name, Sean something, I believe. And he was absolutely incredible as well. So go check out that video if you haven't seen it. That was from this morning at, I went live around 7:40. It should be a live from earlier today. Now, I also have another video premiering in about an hour and 9 minutes. It's another Brian Albert video. I have about 4 more remaining, and those are going to continue being rolled out today, maybe tomorrow, and next week. Now, as far as the case is concerned, before we dive into the juice, for those of you who have been following this case for a while now, you may know the defense is getting ready to conclude their case around Tuesday. It may bleed into Wednesday potentially, but essentially we're pretty much done. We are pretty much done with the defense's case. So without further ado, let's dive in. So the day starts with myself and Chandler arriving at the courthouse. It's about 7:40 in the morning, and I am greeted in the most Massachusetts way possible by a Massachusetts State Police trooper telling me to get out of the way, because somebody apparently had like a heat stroke or something. The poor woman, for those of you, again, who have seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. I'm literally standing there minding my own business. I'm like, dude, what do you want from me? And he's just like, move out of the way. And I'm like, I didn't even do anything. I'm getting the full Massachusetts welcome. And because I didn't move, because I didn't hear him, because I've been on scene for 20 seconds, like 15 seconds. I just arrived. My heart is pumping. I'm excited. Everyone is saying, hi, Larry, hi, Larry, hi, Larry, hi, Larry. And I'm just like, dude, what do you want from me? And he's just like, move. Did you not hear me the first time? Move. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get arrested before I even have a chance to say hi to everybody. So luckily, I just move out of the way, and he leaves me alone. And 8 o'clock strikes. We all walk over to the buffer zone line. I think it's like at the 200 foot or 400 feet, whatever it is, wherever Bev extended it. And I'm standing there talking. I interview Paul Murphy. Like I said, it's a phenomenal interview of a former Canton police cop. And he knows Lank, he knows a few others. Again, if you've seen the interview, if you haven't, you should absolutely go check it out. It's incredible. Then Karen's vehicle pulls up, and everybody, of course, runs. Hi, Karen. Hello, Karen. And Karen rolls her window down. She waves to everybody. She sees me. She sees everybody else. And that was essentially it. And we start walking over. Now, at this point, I'm obviously trying to figure out how do I get in? How do I, like, what do I need to do? Because obviously the protesters are not going to be going in. I am going in, so I need to make sure that I find my correct spot in, in line, whatever. So I link up with Karen and AJ and Alessi and Yannetti and everybody, and I go back with them, and that's the famous shot that you saw for this thumbnail, is me standing there waiting, because they had to like kind of put us to the side because the jury was entering from the back. So they had to let the jury in. They had to like scurry up the stairwell. They had to like put them in a special room wherever the jury is getting warmed up before the trial begins. And so it was just literally me and the defense team kind of standing there, hanging out, chilling, talking, catching up, and it was kind of neat, Again, Karen introduced me to Alessi, and because I've never met Alessi, obviously I said hello to Yannetti, I said hello to Jackson. Nate was there, I'm pretty sure, and I saw a couple other old faces, a couple of new faces. It was fantastic. So then we are ushered into the courtroom, into the courthouse, ushered into the courtroom, and we sit down. And once again, I'm already greeted with the whole. I had like my cell phone in my hand, and I was just like turning it off. And again, one of the bailiffs is like, "Hey, turn that phone off! Like, put that phone away!" And I set it down. I said, "No, you put that in your pocket right now." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm not going to touch it. Why do you need me? It's uncomfortable when I put it in my pocket." I'm not going to argue with the guy, but in my head, I'm like, it's going to be uncomfortable for me to put it in my pocket. It's a giant, brick. Like, I'm just going to set it down next to me. But I'm like, all right, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to mess with this a-hole. I'm just going to put it in my suit pocket. It's going to be a bit uncomfortable, whatever. I'll deal with it. And so the day begins. Bev walks in. The jurors walk in. And we start with Dr. Wolf. Dr. Wolf takes the witness stand. And folks, when I say I, for the first time, had a chance to lay eyes on that jury, it was the first time I have ever actually seen this particular jury. What I can tell you right away is, compared to the first jury in the first trial in 2024, Will and Annie were 100% absolutely unequivocally correct. And the jurors' average age, I would say, is like 31, 32. Think about it. If you were to take all like 16, 17 jurors, whatever you want to call them, and like mush them together and take like their average, not the mean, but the average age of all jurors combined, I would say somewhere between 30 and 31. Seriously, they are that young. They go all the way, it feels like 21, 22, 23. There are a couple that are like in their 50s or 60s, but like on the majority is like upper 20s, lower 30s, maximum. They are very young. I'm thinking, and this is very possible, I'm like, why are they so young? Why did they get a chance to pick a jury that is so young? And it's very possible because you need a jury pool that is not familiar with the case. Maybe they're like the TikTok audience, or they're the audience that doesn't have social media. That's why they didn't know about the Karen Reed case. They're not old timers. They're the younger generation. I don't know. I have no evidence as to why this happened in April, in the first 2 weeks of April when the jury was being picked. But what I can tell you is that they're young. They are young. They are much younger collectively as a unit compared to the jury from last year. So keep that in mind as we go through this breakdown that I have for you, okay? So the minute Dr. Wolf takes the witness stand, every juror's got the pen in the hand, and they're writing stuff down. They're just scribbling away, and they're scribbling away. And let me tell you, folks, when I tell you this is huge for the defense. I told Alan Jackson this during the lunch break when I went to lunch with them. Let me tell you, folks, when jurors are scribbling stuff down, that means they're paying attention, they're interested in what is being said, and that means they are paying attention and they care. Because jurors who don't care, they don't write stuff down. They just put their pens down and they're like, whatever. But they're like writing stuff down. And usually in murder cases that I have seen, for instance, like the Kristen Smart murder trial, or what's another one I can think of that was a murder trial? Alec Murdaugh. I remember that the jurors during the defense's case, they were like so apathetic. They didn't even care. They weren't taking any notes. They were just like, I don't care. I'm not interested. Whatever. But here, on the defense's case, to be scribbling furiously was just, I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. That means that they're still awake, they're still paying attention, they're still interested. That was, to me, the dead giveaway in my jury analysis, in my professional opinion, as a litigator who has single-handedly first chaired and second chaired over 50 jury trials myself, folks. I can tell you this from firsthand experience. If jurors are writing stuff down, that is an excellent sign, especially if they're writing stuff down for the defense. And we will get to what they were doing during Brennan's, which is not the same that they did for Jackson. So 9:03, all jurors are seen taking notes. When Wolf takes the stand, not a dry hand in the room. I didn't know how else to describe it. Everybody is writing. Every single juror. I didn't see a single one that was not taking notes at the outset of like, who are you? Why are you here? Blah, blah, blah. And they're looking at Wolf and Jackson, and they're just like, huh? Uh-huh. 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 Just like Annie and Will told me when they were in the courtroom like two and a half weeks ago. Exactly that. Exactly that. They're just like, whoop, 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 whoop. There's one juror, I love him. He's just kind of like, he's doing this. He's like, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I loved every second of it. So they're following both what Wolf has to say and Jackson's questioning very, very closely. So some of the jurors are at 9:17 in the morning. Now some jurors, not every single one, but some jurors are seen continuing to take notes as Wolf continues his testimony. Then, what is this? Damage for a proposed scenario. Wait, what is this? Damage? Damage fits a proposed scenario. I'm not sure. Sometimes my own notes I can't read. I can't understand what I was trying to say. But at 9:22, there's something about damage fits a proposed scenario. Up until that point, there's like 5-10 minutes of jurors just kind of like, meh. And then all of a sudden, something about damage and being a proposed scenario, all jurors were like, whoop, they perked up. So you can go back in the testimony today, around minute 22 is when that happened. Then there's a sidebar 2 minutes later, and it's Jackson asking questions of Wolf, and I love this part because Brennan gets up and he's like, objection, Your Honor. And I look at the jury the minute he said objection, because it was something that the jurors really, really wanted to know, I think. It was a good question, whatever it was, I don't remember. I just remember the objection. And rephrase. Several jurors do this number. You ready? They do it like this. Like, they roll their eyes and they sigh. I have never seen that before in my life for the prosecution like that. Like, I remember in the Kristen Smart trial, they were doing that to the defense attorney. And that guy ended up getting convicted. What was his name? Flowers? I forget. It doesn't matter. I remember, like, every time the defense attorney would get up, objection, Your Honor, the jurors were like, oh, God. They usually do that to the defense. This time they're doing it to the prosecution. I've never seen that before in my life in a murder trial. Usually it's the defense that is getting creamed. Right here, I literally watched with my own eyes. I can report to you with my own perception. Unequivocally, they were rolling their eyes at Hank Brennan during his objection, during Alan Jackson's case in chief, during the direct examination of Alan Jackson of Dr. Wolf. Incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. I've never seen it before in my life. Never, never, never. So there's a sidebar, and several jurors roll their eyes. And then a few minutes later, there's some testimony about damage to the vehicle is not consistent with injury to John O'Keefe. Those words come out of Dr. Wolf's mouth. And in that minute, in that second, I could tell the jurors' intrigue just went from to brr. Like, they were very curious. They were very interested. Their facial expressions changed. They were very much like, before they were kind of like apathetic, and then all of a sudden they started paying attention again. So that was the moment when there was a mood shift. Then a few minutes later at 9:32, about 5 minutes after that, As Wolf continues to explain and break down the Lexus lens, every single juror, every single one at 9:32, they were looking at Wolf and taking notes furiously. Again, just an observation. I don't remember exactly word for word what was being said because I'm trying to scribble stuff down as quickly as possible, but I remember that moment very clearly, very distinctly. Then at 9:35, when he says that there was no displacement on the panel of the Lexus or the bumper, again, all the jurors kind of whoop, perk up, and then the sirens come in. Remember, there were sirens today at 9:35. I'll never forget it. It was like the smoking gun. It was like the smoking gun. It was beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it. I loved it. The sirens. I even tried to like turn to the guy next to me. Curtis was his name. Really cool guy. I got a chance to meet him, and I was trying to tell him like, you hear the sirens, and he's like, we're gonna get in trouble. Like, we're gonna get in trouble. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to get anybody in trouble. I don't know the rules. You know, I just got here. You know, this is my only time here. You know, like I've only been here for like 5 minutes, whatever. All right. So, 9:36. There's a question about glass on the Lexus. Did you see any glass on the Lexus? I thought that was a brilliant question because I remember that there was allegedly like glass shards or something on the tail bumper. However, that ended up there. Nobody knows, whatever. 90% of the jurors were writing stuff down, so only like a couple of jurors were not writing stuff down at that point. Then, at 9:41, and by the way, let me say a quick little aside real quick. And chat, help me out here. I don't remember his name, but there's somebody who has been tweeting a lot, and I don't remember their name. It's like John Depew or something. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? John Depew? Help me out. What is that guy's name? It's like John something. He's a huge anti-Karen Reed. DePetro. Yes, John DePetro. He tweeted something. Him and like I think it was Susan or whatever. They're like the reporters nobody can trust. Oh, I do have one more nug. It happens later, but I'm gonna jump ahead to it right now, just because I have to shout out this horrible woman, Gretchen Voss. Gretchen Voss from Boston Magazine. I was looking at her, just kind of like scanning the media room, the media panel, and we locked eyes, Gretchen and I, and she's just started like, what, like looking at me, and I'm just like, lady, I'm just chilling here looking at you, and she's just like, what? Why are you looking at me? You know, like what? You want to fight? What? And I'm like, Gretchen, calm your titties. Okay? I am not a threat. I am just a guy. And she just could not handle me. My eyes gave her a heat stroke. My looking at her. It was the most bizarre interaction I've ever had in my entire life. It was the most bizarre interaction I've ever had in my entire life. I can't explain it. What? I'm like, listen, lady, relax. You know? So that was Gretchen. And I understand she's a huge anti-Karen Reed person, and it's not surprising. So John DePetro made an alarm thing today at like 1:40 p.m. on June 6th. He's like, courtroom source tells me right now, inside Karen Reed courtroom, the jury looks like they think the defense is totally shady. They side-eye and look down nose. The jury does not trust Karen Reed defense. Sounds like credibility is shot. He's 100% correct, except he is talking about Hank Brennan's cross-examination, not Alan Jackson's direct examination of Dr. Wolf. So that is the divider, and I will explain as we get to that point. I just wanted to point that out because it was really weird. I read it, and I was like, wait a minute, it doesn't make sense. And I was like, oh, he's just misquoting whoever has given him this information. The jury was giving side-eye to Hank Brennan, and I will get to that in just a moment. So 9:36 we covered. 9:41 he starts talking about the cannon that they built to shoot the glass. One juror it was very interesting because there was one juror very particularly at 9:50 when they were talking about the throwing of the glass. Have you tried to like think about maybe somebody threw the glass, like John threw the glass at the car, and then there was one juror, I'll never forget it. She actually gesticulated from her seat. She was like, she had this puzzled look on her face. She was like, huh, and then she gestured. She like took her hand and was like, it was very fascinating. It was very fascinating. Like she tried to like, she was confused. Like, what is that possible to like throw the glass and cause the damage? I think the cannon kind of threw a few of them off. 9:52, no skull fracture. Jurors were writing stuff down. 9:59, when he's like, oh, you need to talk to Welcher. He reviewed a lot of this stuff, and the jurors are writing some more stuff down. And then at 10:10, when there was no impact testing, no injury testing, he had no opinions as to the speed of the Lexus, that is Dr. Welcher. Every single juror was writing stuff down. And then we got to the diffuser. Oh, the diffuser being broken. Why is that significant? It's significant because it is related, because you need force. You need a lot of force, to break the diffuser inside the taillight. Most jurors were writing stuff down with respect to that. Then at 10:16, jurors appear to be captivated by the taillight show and tell, when that big giant hunk of taillight was brought out, and everybody was just like, oh, it was glorious. It was a brilliant decision, absolutely brilliant decision by the defense to bring that out. Then at 10:20, the small punctures on the hoodie on the right sleeve. Again, the jurors kind of seemed a little scratching their chin and like scratching their heads because, they're like, how do you get these punctures? I mean, we know they're cylindrical, they are dog bite, teeth marks and claw marks. They can't possibly could have been done by a taillight. But Jackson, of course, is going to highlight this in closing. This was not the time because Dr. Wolf is not a medical expert. He cannot testify to that. All he can say is this was not caused by a taillight because that's what he examined. So now the fascinating part at 10:25, Welcher's name keeps coming up. Every time Jackson said the word Welcher, objection. Your Honor, I mean, I just need to, Welcher, objection. Welcher, objection. It was so nauseating. And don't think, if it was nauseating to you folks, what do you think it did to the jury? You have no idea how exacerbated the jurors were. I saw their faces myself. Believe me when I say this. Every time Brennan objected to the whole, well, according to Dr. Welcher, your opinion was objection. Welcher said objection. But Welcher did objection. Your Honor, may we approach? And each time, the jurors are just like, oh my God, will you just let him speak? Just we want to hear what he has to say. We want to hear the answer to this question. This is a good question. And I'm just like, you're right. It is a great question. And Bev is just like, nope, sustained, nope, sustained, nope, sustained. And the jurors were very flustered. Very, very flustered. It was noticeable. It was clear. It was evident. And if they were giving the side eye to anyone, they were giving the side eye to Hank Brennan during his objections. That is unequivocal. Unequivocal. So, Welcher never analyzed the force on the arm to John O'Keefe, and a couple of jurors were seen writing stuff down at 10:25. Then, there were several jurors that smirked when Brennan gave an objection at 10:42. And they were smirking very uncomfortably. It wasn't like it was like a, that sort of smirk. They appear hungry for these answers and are looking very disappointed when they didn't hear the answer to the questions by Jackson. Then at 10:55, the jurors appear to be captivated by the 10-mile-an-hour video of the impact of the taillight with the crash test dummy and no damage to the hoodie. Every single juror was writing stuff down. By the way, something I've noticed at 10:57 when all these videos were being played, the 10 mile an hour, the 17 mile an hour, the 24 miles an hour, Mama O'Keefe, Peggy O'Keefe, was just like literally she was sitting there like this. She was just nodding off. She was sleeping when the lights were off in the courtroom. I just found that kind of humorous. And there was one other person in the back in the O'Keefe camp that was just going to sleep during when the lights were off and the videos were being played. I guess they don't like hearing the truth. They're bored by the truth. I don't know. You're gonna have to ask them. That's what I gathered from that. Now, right before the morning break, when Wolf testified that there is no mechanism to allow for holes to be formed by the shattering of the taillight, there are several jurors that are writing stuff down. That was very evident right before the morning break. Then we went on our morning break. I remember I went outside to just get some sunlight, get some air, because it's really cramped in there. I ran into a clerk, and she recognized me. It was kind of cute. Like everybody was recognizing me, and I don't know. I took so many photos I couldn't begin to tell you. But then we come back from the morning break. It is now 12:02. Well, let me rephrase. So the last one, there's like a whole hour where I don't have notes. The break was only about 15, 20 minutes. There wasn't anything of significance that I noticed. If I don't have any notes on it, then I probably didn't find it as significant as I would have liked. So in 12:02, jurors appear to be captivated by the testimony about the crash test dummy of the vehicle versus the arm. The majority of jurors are seen taking notes. And then 10 minutes later, 12:12, during the 29 mile per hour test video, jurors are taking furious notes. Half of the jurors are not even looking up. They were literally just buried in their notebook, which I found fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I wonder what that is about. The only deduction that I have from that is I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe they don't think it is possible that in the snow, in the dark, at 2 o'clock or at 12:30 in the morning, Karen Reed could have possibly traveled 30 miles an hour in reverse. At most, she was traveling maybe 10 or 12 theoretically, and that wouldn't have caused the taillight to shatter. In order for the taillight to shatter in the way that it did, and Karen Reed's defense team highlighted this all day, every day today, is the fact that it would have to be a very high-speed reversal, and it's not possible physically, because then the entirety of the back bumper would have just collapsed upon itself. It wouldn't have just been such a clean break, like just clipping his hand, just clipping his arm. It doesn't make any sense in any way, shape, or form. And when Brennan showed those holes, by the way, just fast forwarding a little bit, when Brennan showed those holes on the hoodie, and then Jackson, right on cross-examination before we went to the weekend, highlighted the fact that, those holes were everywhere, on the back, on the front, on his face, on the dummy's face, like. And Brennan cherry-picked. I mean, you guys remember cherry-picking, right? Cherry-picking Craig Constantine de Thomas's. For those of you who are aficionados of my channel, you know what I'm talking about. Brennan cherry-picking testimony and cherry-picking evidence to display to the jury. Dude, that's the defense's job. I'm telling you, today it was like Jackson is the prosecutor and Brennan is the defense attorney. I've been seeing it in the courtroom for a while now as I've been covering this trial, but today I got a chance to see it live. And that was absolutely incredible, just absolutely incredible. At 12:39, when Wolf said the conclusion is not consistent with an impact, his conclusion is that the damage to the taillight and the injuries to John O'Keefe were not consistent with a crash between a Lexus SUV and John O'Keefe. Every single juror is seen writing stuff down. Then he says that the damage to the hoodie, also inconsistent with the injuries to John O'Keefe and the damage to the taillight. Every single juror was writing stuff down. The fact that it was never punctured on the crash test dummy hoodie, every single juror was writing stuff down at 12:40. And then we broke very shortly after that for lunch. Now, during lunch, I'm very lucky. Again, I can't reveal any information because there was a discussion with me and the defense team about future strategy, what their plans are, what is going to happen. So I'm going to keep every single one of it to myself. But I will say there is nothing more glorious than sitting in a room, standing in a room, eating some Jimmy John's and sipping on Coca-Cola, and you're hanging out with uh, David Yannetti, Alan Jackson, Robert Alessi, Liza Little, and the civil attorney for Karen Reed, who's there in the courtroom, seated at the far left, at the end of the row, and me. It was literally 6 of us in a room. I'm just gonna gloat just for a second because it was one of the most incredible experiences. Because last time I got a chance to do that, but there was no Robert Alessi, and to top it all off, there was absolutely no possibility of talking to them last time because they were very, very captivated. They were very, very busy. Now the atmosphere is a little bit more relaxed. I've never seen defense attorneys and defense witnesses and not witnesses, excuse me, defense audience members just so relaxed. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody's happy, and all the John O'Keefe family and all the prosecution witnesses, they're all very tense and like very, very, like they got a stick up their ass. I've never seen that before. It's bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre, and we all know why. Because they don't have a case. It's a crap case. They're losing, and they know that they're losing, and it sucks for them, and nobody cares. Because we are on Karen Reed's side, period, the end. At least I am. You know what I mean? And a lot of people are. So, now Brennan is preparing for his cross-examination of Wolf at 1:40, and this is something that you guys, here you go, here's some intel from directly inside the courtroom, because this is the part that you did hear, but here's the part that you didn't hear. You heard that Auntie Bev said, today we are going to terminate at 3:45. You guys all heard that. What you didn't hear, because the cameras were off during this portion, is that one of the jurors said they need to leave at 3:45, and that is why we terminated today at 3:45. So now you know the reason. One of the jurors needed to go home early for whatever reason. There was no objection from either side, and that's why we terminated at 3. Actually, it was like 3:40 or something like that today. Now, at 1:42, I noticed a mood shift in the courtroom. First of all, Jackson is very captivating. Jackson is very he knows how to control a room, how to control an audience. Much like I love when you guys like this video, comment below and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to do that. Jackson knows how to do that. Jackson knows how to captivate an audience, how to get people to listen. Hank Brennan is boring. He doesn't have the same chutzpah. He doesn't have the same panache. He doesn't have the same je ne sais quoi, you know. He just doesn't have it. He's lacking in it. He sucks. And there's an entire mood shift. Like when he got up there, it was like I don't know, like a high school kid going up against a professional wrestler, you know, and Jackson being the professional wrestler and Hank Brennan being the high school kid. It was just pathetic. He gets up there and his energy is just so low, and he just raises his voice for no reason. He's like, so, da 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 da, and I'm just like, why are you yelling, dude? Why are you yelling? Your yelling is not accomplishing anything. Your yelling is not doing anything. It is hollow. It is empty. It is rigged. He's just a bully. Exactly, Chad. He's just a bully. It makes no sense. Like, dude, just stop it. You're not accomplishing your goal. And the jury appears more aloof all of a sudden. The minute Brennan got up there, they were just like, here we go. Like when Jackson was up there, they were like, ooh, captivated. And then when he got up there, it's just like, okay, well, here we go. More BS. It's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm biased. Take it with a grain of salt, but that's what I felt, okay? That's what I felt, that's what I noticed, and I'm relaying it to you through my own eyes, trying to keep it as unfiltered as possible. Most do not appear to be as engaged as they were with Alan Jackson, and most are not even writing stuff down. That's the dead giveaway. When Jackson was up there with Wolf, they're all scribbling, and they're scribbling, and they're scribbling. There will be moments where they're scribbling, so we'll get to that, but for the most part, they're not even scribbling. They're not writing stuff down. They're not interested. They're not captivated. And 154, when Brennan ad nauseum was trying to get through the whole, you destroyed the text messages, and you're using Signal, and you're using that, and the jury is writing stuff down a little bit, but they seem so disinterested. And when the whole Signal conversation came up, some of them, very few jurors are writing stuff down. Most are just kind of sitting there. Again, they don't care. They don't care. So you use Signal. So what? So you destroy text messages. He just said it, Brenny. He just said it. Hey, this is my normal practice. This is what I do. Once I'm done with a client, I delete the text messages. I just swiped the conversation right and they all disappeared. I didn't go there and one by one by one by one. And the jurors were just like, okay, this sounds legit. What's the problem? Where's the problem? And Brennan was like, you deleted evidence and you did that and how dare you? And they're just like, uh-huh. 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 And again, Brennan trying to make a mountain out of a molehill is just falling on deaf ears. Nobody cares. Nobody was interested in it. Nobody was captivated by it. It was just like, dude, move on. You're not accomplishing anything. You're just ruining your own reputation. If there is anything left to be ruined at this point, I don't know. It's been 10 weeks of garbage piled upon more garbage. So I don't know. I don't know. You tell me, Chad. You tell me. Then at 2:05 p.m. jurors appear very unamused by Brennan's attempts to make Wolf look dishonest, especially when he started talking about you said you testified 20 times, turns out half of them were depositions, and you never corrected it. When he just tried to yeah, I finally got you. I finally got the gotcha moment, and I'm about to bury you. Every single juror was just like, are you done? One of them was literally sitting there like this. They were so bored. So bored. It was amazing. So amazing. I can't tell you guys. To see it live, oh God. And we're about to get to Wolf's wife too. Oh my God. Just wait for it, folks. Just wait for it. Here it comes. In just a few more minutes. So at 2:07, I noticed something very peculiar. Most jurors were not even looking at Brennan as he's asking questions of Wolf. They're either staring straight ahead or they're looking at Wolf, who is to their right. Brennan is over here. On occasion, they'll kind of do like a little side eye, and then they'll look at Wolf. They did not do the same for Jackson. For Jackson, they would do this. And then look at Wolf, and then look at Jackson, and then look at Wolf. There was that one juror who, like I said, he would do this, look at Jackson, and then look back, and then look at Jackson, and then look back. But they're just, it's so telling who they are interested in and who they are disinterested in. They are definitely disinterested in Hanky. So at 2:14, another very peculiar thing that I've noticed, talking about Auntie Bev now specifically, when Alan Jackson was doing his direct examination of Wolf, Bev was just kind of staring straight ahead, just kind of blinking occasionally, just like maybe putting her glasses on and looking at some stuff, and Jackson is talking and he's asking questions, and then she'll look straight ahead and kind of rock in her chair. When Brennan got up there, it was unequivocal. Bev was just looking at the witness, looking at Brennan. Hanky, witness. Hanky, witness. Or, sorry, Hanky, witness. Hanky, it's polar opposites. Everything that the jury was doing during Alan Jackson's testimony, Bev was doing the opposite. She was, ignoring him. Whenever Brennan was up there, the jury is ignoring him, and Bev is captivated by Brennan. The dichotomy, the polarization is just so stark. It is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I also noticed that Brennan's suit was a little too big for him. His shoulders kind of slump a little bit when he stands up straight completely. And far be it from me, I know I have suits that don't fit. I know people make fun of me all the time. But hey, now I get to make fun of somebody else. And his suit, it's very noticeable. His shoulders slump. He needs to really work on his posture, maybe work out a little bit. I don't think the guy has any muscle mass. And it's very noticeable because there's fabric, basically right here, that is just dangling on his shoulder. He either needs shoulder pads or something. I think Lally, he's got shoulder pads, I'm pretty sure. So he's got a lot of extra fabric on both of his shoulders when he stands up straight with his hands to his sides. So the dude should probably hit the gym. I'm being serious. Hitting the gym would definitely do him some good. At 2:19, when he says that there were no reports about something. Some jurors are writing stuff down, others look bored. I'm not really sure what part that was about. I'm really sorry. No reports. Oh, the fact that you didn't write down some reports about something. I remember that. Then at 2:34, all right, folks, buckle up. It's about to get interesting. At 2:34, he starts doing this whole thing about 9.38 pounds versus 11.86 pounds. Every single juror is writing stuff down. Okay, initially. Because they're like, oh, this is a big deal. But then Hanky commits a cardinal sin. He tries to use math. He tries to explain, like, well, force equals mass times acceleration. For all of you physics and math aficionados out there, buckle up. Listen to this. So if, according to Brennan logic, Hanky logic, he said 26% of the weight has been removed from the arm. So theoretically, statistically speaking, which, by the way, if you really want to get down to statistics, John O'Keefe is a dead Chinese woman. You are a dead Chinese woman. I am a dead Chinese woman. You've probably heard this adage. Everybody on the planet is a dead Chinese woman. If you really want to talk statistics and average, the average person on the planet is a dead Chinese woman. Why? Because statistics, right? Obviously, we're not. So Brennan trying to lump everybody, or excuse me, John O'Keefe into like, well, a man 6'1" with a blah 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 should probably have 11.8 whatever pounds of an arm. You could have used a 12-pound dummy arm. You chose to use a 9.38 and blah blah blah. And the jurors were actually interested. The jurors were interested. They were scribbling stuff down. Obviously, I mean it's interesting testimony. I won't discredit that. But then something very fascinating happened. He tried to use that, so that's a 26%, change, and therefore all of the speed must be reduced by 26%. And I was like, whoa, in my head. Wait a minute. So because you're using an object that is 26% of the original weight, now you want to change mathematically the entire formula and lower the speed by 26%? That's not how it works. Because the more speed that you have, Wolff testified to this. This is basic physics. The greater the speed is going to be, the greater the acceleration, the less the mass is going to matter. Brennan kept saying, like, what if it was a 5-pound arm? What if it was a 5-pound arm? And Wolff was just like, dude, it doesn't matter. The more speed that you have, if you had like a 5-mile-an-hour, which wasn't even a discussion, this is just me talking. If it was like a 5-mile-an-hour collision or a 6-mile-an-hour collision, yes, the difference between 9 pounds and 11 pounds could be a stark difference. However, when you're talking about 24 miles an hour, 17 miles an hour, 29 miles an hour, that difference becomes more and more negligible. And when Wolff covered it and answered it, all the jurors went from, oh my God, this is... and they just put their pens down and they stopped writing. It was amazing. It was so telling. It was hysterical. I swear, you can't make this stuff up, folks. It was 100% real. And at that point, at 2:40, I have a note here. After that, they started giving Brennan side-eye. They started giving him sighs and glares. Every single one, almost every single one. Then, he asks something about, well, what if the arm was positioned differently? And the result would be different, wouldn't it? Jurors appeared very confused, like they had like their eyebrows raised, and they were just like, what? And I had this pained look on my face. And this is this is the highlight of my day, folks. You're not ready for this. I wasn't ready for this when I was inside the courtroom. This happened around 2:47 p.m. I'm sitting there minding my own business, and I'm just listening to Hank, and I'm just like, I have this like, what on earth are you talking about, buddy? You know me, I'm emotive. I'm just like, what the heck? And I'm looking at him, and then I'm looking at the jury, and one of the jurors looks directly at me, and I look at her, and I have this pained look on my face, and she's got that pained look on her face, and we both lock eyes for just like a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds, and we're both, and I'm like, oh shit, and I try to look away, but it's too late. We're both just kind of like, yeah, like the unspoken bond was like, this is bullshit, isn't it? And like, yeah, this is bullshit. And I'm just like, okay, look away, Larry, look away, look away, look away, look away. I can't make this stuff up. I was just like, oh God. Because you can't, I can't control it. I'm just like, what is this crap? What is this garbage? And the juror was just like in the same boat. She's like, this is complete garbage. And we both had this like like 1.5 seconds, like 2 seconds moment of like, this is such bullshit. This is such bullshit. And I'm just like, okay, look away, look away, look away, look away, look away. It was amazing. It was amazing because I didn't intend for that. It just happened in like a second because I had such a pained look on my face, and she had a pained look on her face. It was amazing. I'll never forget it. I'm gonna take that with me to the grave. That was incredible. He starts talking about before he starts talking about test F. Before he starts talking about test F, there's a moment where he's just like, "Do you recognize this?" And he brings up his wife, Wolf's wife. And something I noticed on his sheet, it had posts somewhere on social media, but he never asked him questions about it. He just, well, yada da 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 yada da 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 da, like he kind of did that with Lucky Lochran on Wednesday. He was like, well, you were intimidated by a blogger, and you were intimidated by a blogger, or something like that. And Lucky was like, no, I was not. What the hell do you want from me? He tries to like do these side angles, and the whole grieving over his wife is like, oh, I'm sorry for your loss. But anyway, back to the more important things. And I'm just like, oh my God. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cover that video when we get back. Probably tomorrow or Sunday I will premiere it, so be on the lookout for that video. And of course, Crash Daddy, Dr. Wolf, the one I saw today, I'll do a video on him as well. Because even though I've already seen the testimony live, it's always great to react in it in real time. And I'll obviously pepper in some jury impressions as well on top of this video. There's going to be some more of that. Now, so test F was like a full test. Most jurors are writing stuff down. And then the Randy dummy, again, they're writing stuff down, but they seem so disinterested. It's the most bizarre interaction. And the whole Wolf's wife doing something or whatever, they were waiting. They're like, okay, you got him red-handed. Let's see it. Let's hear it. Nothing. And they're just like, you can't set it up like that, Branny. Hanky, you gotta follow through. You can't just be like, I have a smoking gun, and here it is. It's not. Oh, anyway, moving on to my next point. It leaves people very, very confused. They stop trusting you. They stop trusting your opinion, and they stop trusting you and whatever you have to say. And that is not a good look, Hanky. Terrible, terrible, terrible look. So then he starts talking about like the difference between a clip and full-on impact. Jurors appear very bored. One of the jurors was literally, again, like this, cupping his face, like, oh, what is it gonna end? Like this is 3:19. We're like less than half an hour from termination for the day. Most jurors just look fatigued at this point. They're like, we just want to go home. Like, we're tired. We don't care. Hanky concludes his cross-examination at 3:26, and AJ Alan Jackson begins his redirect. At 3:31, he asks, shards would have to travel faster to cut because, impact, the truck is traveling, or the SUV is traveling. Impact, the shards are flying, and the shards would have to fly at an increased velocity in order to cause abrasions. About 50% of the jurors were writing stuff down. They are just like Jackson just woke them all up. It was very interesting, very captivating. And then 3:40, just a few minutes before we broke, statistically, the weight between 11.8 pounds and 9.4 pounds. Jurors were attentive but exhausted. Some are seen writing stuff down. And then, very important, it was actually really funny, the compensation for the ARCA witness, before the morning break, I was like, Jackson, you need to ask about compensation. Jackson, you need to, in my head, I'm like, you need to ask. You need to ask how much was Arca paid, because Brennan is going to bring it up on cross. It's very important. You need the jury to know the difference between compensation. The fact that, what are they called? Aperture. Aperture was paid like almost $500,000, whereas Arca was paid 50 for this trial, 20 for last trial, so 70 if you really want to get technical. And they got paid 50 because they did all these tests. In addition, this time around with the crash test dummies and the arm and all that above the cannon. Last time they just did the cannon. And I will say that it was really hilarious because it's like, again, as a trial attorney, I know what's coming sometimes. And I was like, this is a very important point, Jackson, you have to ask it. And lo and behold, as if he read my mind, as if he talked to me, it was just a little nugget I'll take with me to the grave. Jackson gets up there, and the first question he asks after the morning break, which was, when was the morning break? The morning break was at around 11. He comes back at like 11:15 and is like, oh, by the way, how much did you get paid for this? And I'm like, Jackson, my homie. Jackson, my hero. You're doing exactly what I would have done if I were up there litigating this case. So I am not, unfortunately, but one day I will be. And I'm really looking forward to that. Of course, I still represent Bao and Tom, CPU, in both of their 1983 actions for assault against Massachusetts State Police and the injuries that they have sustained. I got a chance to meet Hardman in person. Now, let me tell you two things about that. Number one, he's bigger in person. Dude is huge. He's tall. He's wide. He's a big dude. And the funniest thing, after the morning break, or during the morning break rather, when I stepped outside, he was right there. He was right there, and he saw me, and I was just walking in towards him. He just turned around and like walked away. He couldn't face me. He couldn't even look me in the eye. He knows he's in trouble. He knows I'm suing him. I talked to the head of security inside the courtroom, the bailiff liaison, and he was just like, he's a cool dude. We're friends. And I told him, like, hey, you probably got my email. And he was just like, yep. I'm like, well, you're going to get another email about Tom. He's like, I know. It's really, really funny. Like, I have friends in high places. And of course, we saw Ted Daniel. I said hi to Ted. But yeah, and the jurors were released for the day. They're going to be back next week. The defense is probably going to conclude Tuesday or Wednesday. And there's a bunch of super chats that I probably am never going to be able to get through because I don't have that capability to go back. So I do apologize, folks. Thank you for always making me laugh, being honest, being upfront in your responses to this trial. Thank you, always making me laugh, being honest, being upfront in your responses. I don't know why I said that twice, but thank you, Cheryl LaRosa. B-Rad says, I'll call Monday so I can buy you lunch. I'll go ahead and pay for the defense team. I'll reach out Monday and see you answering service. I can trust you, get the money. Sure, absolutely. But yeah, I don't really have... AV said to say, hey, we would love to have you on again. I would love that. AV is awesome. AV actually went to lunch with Chandler yesterday, or not lunch, dinner with Chandler yesterday. And I saw Aiden. I saw Aiden in the courtroom. Apparently, he's got his jury trial on Monday. Did you guys know this? Aiden is going to trial. I don't know if they're going to do bench or jury, but Bradel is trying Aiden's witness intimidation case on Monday. So that's going to be exciting. That's going to be a hoot. And thank you all again. Sorry for not being able to answer super chats. I'm on a mobile setup. I don't know how to like go back and find these. Los ratones are in su casa. Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome, Bao's. Welcome from Bao's chat. Why is Larry suing Massachusetts State Police? Because they busted up Tom. They dislocated his shoulder, and they hurt Bao very seriously. They gave him a mild traumatic brain injury when they slammed his head in the police cruiser as they were arresting him for no freaking reason. I have the video. You guys have probably seen the video. You've seen snippets and so on. Folks, I wanted to thank you all for coming. I wanted to thank you all for joining. Thank you for all your donations. Thank you for the views. Thank you for the comments. Thank you very, very much for coming to my live. I am going to peace out. I need to eat food since I have not had breakfast. I have ate my lunch and now I need to eat dinner. Otherwise, I am going to collapse. So, once again, folks, thank you so much for coming. Thank you all for joining. I hope you learned something as always. And I have another video that is going to premiere in 15 minutes. It is another Brian Albert video. It's a continuation of my Brian Albert series. After today, I have 3 more Brian Albert videos. I'm going to do, I already did Dr. Russell, so I need to do that lady from Wednesday, and I need to do the new Lucky video from Wednesday, and of course, Crash Daddy from today. So I have 3 of those. Tomorrow, there's going to be another Diddy video and a top 10 Karen Reed from the last 2 weeks, and then a couple more Brian Albert videos probably, depending on what I get done. And before you know it, folks, we're going to be on Verdict Watch. It's pretty much it. It's pretty much done. Monday, there's going to be some more defense witnesses. Tuesday, there are going to be more defense witnesses. Then there's going to be a rebuttal on Wednesday, and that's probably going to be Welcher getting back up there. I don't know what's going to happen with that. And my anticipation is Thursday, we're going to be in Verdict Watch. Closing statements are on Thursday, maximum Friday, and that's it. So I thank you all for coming. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you very much for commenting. And thank you for your all your donations. Sorry if I didn't answer your questions, but I will see you all in the next video. Bye, everybody.